Bickley and Marotta mornings. Arizona sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Shohei Ohtani was very silent during the World Series, but that was not the case after the Dodgers beat the Yankees in Game 5 when Ohtani said during a clubhouse celebration, quote, "Let's do this 9 more times." Great. That's what you call putting the pain in champagne. And you would like to think that the Dodgers' first World Series title in a non-shortened series in a long, long time would be the end of a quest for our dreaded rivals, but it's not. Their owner said last night that he wants this current title to mark the beginning of the golden era of Dodgers baseball, which will presumably continue with the courtship of Juan Soto, effectively raiding the Yankees after routing the Yankees. And we all know what that means in Arizona. It makes the job that much more difficult for the leaders of the Diamondbacks, a team that once again failed to stack playoff appearances in 2024. And what are they going to do about that? Besides change bullpen and pitching coaches, are they going to sign Paul Goldschmidt to replace Christian Walker? And it really makes you wonder, has an extremely talented management team like the one in Arizona ever had a higher mountain to climb? And it also makes you wonder if those 4 home runs in 1 inning against the Dodgers will be the best it gets against the newly crowned world champions.
You don't really think about it when you're up there. Things seem to be slowing down. That's kind of what you're just trying to do. And I think obviously experience definitely helps in this situation. But when I did a lot of work in between the NLCS and the World Series, and thankfully my ankle got into a good spot where I could work on my swing, and I found a cue that really worked for me. And I was able to slow things down. I mean, all you're trying to do is swing at strikes, take balls, and hit the mistakes. And thankfully, I was able to do that for 5 games.
Freddie Freeman, World Series MVP.
Freddie freaking Freeman. What is up?
Who couldn't freaking move at the end of the NLCS.
I know.
Was just a nightmare for the New York Yankees in the series, but they're talking about his offensive explosion. It's also funny, too, that the postseason is so long and involved. I mean, you got to get through at least 3 series to win a World Series at this point. Freddie Freeman had the injury where he was ineffective, couldn't play a couple games. World Series, lights out. Max Muncy went through a stretch in this postseason where he didn't make an out for, I think, like 12 straight at-bats. And then he ended on an 0 for 20. Shohei Ohtani was on fire, was injured, and couldn't get a hit at the end. Aaron Judge, so much made about his postseason. To localize it the way you did in the Blast, it's another reminder and a complete washing away of the feeling that we had in 2023 when the Arizona Diamondbacks, who finished 16 games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers over the course of 162, embarrassed them in the postseason. Absolutely dominated them in 3 games. And this was a reminder of so many things. It was, hey, this is what you're dealing with every single year because it's never going away. The Dodgers ownership has never been richer or more powerful than it is, and they're going to make a play for every great player. The Diamondback situation is not going to change that much. But it was also a reminder of the failure of this year for the Diamondbacks because you can't get in and shock the world and embarrass a big favorite unless you get into the postseason. And last night I had that wave of anger again over the last week of the season for the Diamondbacks and the way everybody handled it.
So did I. It's funny you should say that because that's exactly where my head was as well. Because there was a time after that sweep of the Dodgers, that glorious sweep of the Dodgers, which included the biggest beatdown Clayton Kershaw has ever had. And it was followed up by an offseason in a hot stove league that was better than anyone dared to dream in Arizona. And we literally went into last baseball season wondering, is this a level playing field? Is this as level as the playing field is going to get? And can we really now go snatch a division title from this team? And now we're stuck in this little mode here. The Dodgers came off a year where they had just as much adversity as the Diamondbacks did, 2,342 days of players on the injured list for the Dodgers. And we're talking about for everybody from Tyler Glasnow to Mookie Betts,
Walker Buehler,
all these guys.
Yamamoto.
Yeah. Oh,
Dustin
yeah.
May,
Yeah.
Yamamoto.
Their whole
got
pitching
hurt.
staff.
Yeah.
Their whole pitching staff.
That's sort of the thing that's both. That's kind of scary in a way, is that everybody's talking about they spent over $1 billion. They just bought a championship. Mm-hmm. Well, Yamamoto missed half the year and was only mediocre. And Shohei Ohtani didn't even pitch this year. So in theory, they only got about half of what they paid for of those guys, and they still won this year.
So if that's the thing about the Dodgers management, they are really, really ambitious and they're really good. And for them to come out last night and say what they said about this is the start of the golden era of Dodgers baseball, that's a heavy statement given the history of that baseball team. But they mean it, and they're going to spend to make it happen, and it's just so depressing.
But that's it. It becomes the battle cry for teams like the Diamondbacks.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get in, and we have to hope for the best for whether it's a best of 5 or a best of 7
That's
series. That's it. It comes to over the course of a regular season. I don't think the Dodgers are ever going to lose this division again.
Yep.
That's it. And the thing that's so disheartening to me was just stacking playoff appearances seems to be impossible for this franchise. The Dodgers have rattled off, 12 division titles in 13 years?
Yeah, and the one that they lost was on the last day of the season to the Giants.
And the thing that, and I knew this that Monday when the Diamondbacks, stop rubbing your eyes, Jared! I knew this the day the season ended for the Diamondbacks, that how are we going to get back that optimism and that hope and that belief when that team at one point was the best team in Major League Baseball last year and they couldn't even get in? That's the disappointment that is lingering. How can we feel good and again, how can we feel uber excited about it? That's the challenge. And I'm glad Mike Hazen likes challenge, because I know a lot of lesser general managers would say, I'm out of here, man. I'm not dealing with this anymore.
Yeah. And you mentioned something in the blast, too, about Paul Goldschmidt.
Mm-hmm.
There's a MLB.com reporter who covers the St. Louis Cardinals who suggested in a look at what the Cardinals are going to do. John Denton, 7 questions facing the Cardinals this season. The question he asked on Paul Goldschmidt was which players will become free agents. Paul Goldschmidt, whose production has fallen off dramatically in the past 2 seasons, leads the way here. There is a scenario where the Cardinals would love to retain Goldschmidt, but it would need to be on a club-friendly deal. The D-backs and or Astros are expected to pursue Goldschmidt and offer him more guaranteed cash, so the likelihood is that he moves on to a contender.
So if that is the case, then if that report is accurate, then the Diamondbacks have pretty much reconciled that we will not be able to sign and extend Christian Walker,
which is devastating in its own right. To me, the strategy should be put the full court press on Christian Walker. And if your fallback plan, or you can't go down that road, if the fallback plan is Paul Goldschmidt, that's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not ideal. Paul Goldschmidt is not the same player he was when he left here.
No.
And I think it would be damaging to the D-backs fans to have the last memory of Paul Goldschmidt as a guy who can't get the job done anymore.
Yeah, and then the skeptics will say, okay, you're going for the nostalgia piece because you can't compete in that arena. Lastly, it's also depressing because I really thought Dave Roberts was this close to getting fired. When they were down 2-1 to the Padres, he was 1 loss away from all of this crumbling. And here they are now. Dodgers. Why did it have to be Dodgers?
Well, at least Wednesday night, they had a reason to riot in the streets of Los Angeles.
Well, there you go. Wow. And finally, I'll say this. This Dodgers team, I find them likable. I love Mookie Betts as a player. I love Freddie Freeman as a player. I love Shohei. All those guys. I really love them as baseball players. So I have a hard time hating the Dodgers. I just hate the idea of the Dodgers.
It's a good way to put it.
The immovable object right in front of us. They are the San Antonio Spurs on steroids.
I like Mookie. I like Freddie. I like Shohei until they get on second base and they do that stupid dance. Should be outlawed.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Murata. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.